I'm glad Rabbi Cantor is enjoying the week off, and come back soon, Rabbi Cantor, because this used to be a lot easier, a lot fewer chords and all kinds of things to worry about. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about, I got new eyesight and glasses. It's very complicated today. I'm getting used to it. Okay. All right. We want to wish a happy anniversary this Shabbat for anniversaries coming this week, Cynthia and Jeffrey Diskin, Colleen and Joel Storchin. And birthdays, Jacqueline Rosenblatt, Jennifer Siporin, Ilana Weinfeld. Okay, got a nod there, he knows. Suzanne Beauchamp, Elia Haroni, Naomi Bacall, Mark Bettman, Kay Weinberger, Rebecca Blaharski. Also have the parents of the birthday girl here. Leah Shepard. There we go. Okay, we have a pattern here. Ellie Yerman, Bernie Jonas. Didn't we just have a birthday? Wasn't that last week? Happy birthday. I think we honored you last week, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe because Rabbi Cantor was going to be here. Zachary Friedman, Danielle Weinberger, Hannah Fine, and Earl Endelman. And if I missed anybody, happy birthday and anniversary to you as well. Isaac Newton took a prism and had the sunlight come through the prism, and of course it came out in a spectrum of color, looked like a rainbow. Newton wasn't the first to use the prism, but he concluded differently from others. Traditionally, people thought that the light that God created was pure white light. And the prism caused the light to change. And Newton figured out that that's not really true. The white light that we see is actually composed of all of those colors, and the prism merely allows us to see those colors. Newton didn't get it exactly right. But for his time, of course, Newton was a genius. And now we know that the colors in the white light that we see as the colors of the rainbow, that not every creature would see those colors exactly the same. Now, no dog ever told me this, so I only read it somewhere, that while human beings have typically 3 light receptors, 3 cones or color receptors, blue, yellow, and red, and that allows us to see the other colors on the rainbow, as well as about 100 shades of color. A dog doesn't see red. The dog sees blue and yellow. Maize and blue, that's pretty good. I like those dogs. So the dog's rainbow doesn't look the same as ours. And a sparrow has 4 color receptors, so the sparrow sees even more colors than we see. And does anybody know the winner in science? Which creature in this earth has the most number of color receptors and an infinite more colors than we see? The mantis shrimp. If you want to see a lot of colors, just talk to the next mantis shrimp you see. They see many more colors than we see, which tells us that in this case the color is in the sight is in the eyes of the beholder. And of course, so now we understand we're supposed to have these 3 color receptors, so if you're missing one, that's what color blindness is. Or if you're missing more than one, or it's a little bit different. Now I'm going to change the subject, but I'll come back to it. I want to talk about my Aunt Bina. She was my great aunt. She was married to my grandma's brother. I used to work in a family clothing store with Aunt Bina, and Aunt Bina would give gumballs to the children. Wonderful thing to give to the children. And I heard this story about 50 years ago, and it stuck with me. So my Aunt Bina calls a little kid over and gives her a gumball, and the girl's walking away, and she says, "Now, say thank you, like that, pretty sternly. She was a pretty stern aunt. So the kid says kind of shyly, thank you. And then a minute later, you hear the mother of the child says, did you say thank you? And my aunt yells across, yes, she did. So I want you to think about this for a moment. When we say thank you, is it sincere, or is it just something that we do? Is it just learned behavior? Think about, I asked this question to my high school students too, and I think you'll probably even get it better than them. Think about the most precious gift that you have, the one that you really, really treasure. Or maybe the most precious person in your life. And how many times do you call up the person who gave you that gift and say thank you? Do you do it every day? Probably not. Or every time you see that person, do you say thank you for being in my life? Some of you maybe yes. And I explained that's my understanding, one of my understandings of prayer. They say, Rabbi, why do we say the prayer over and over and over again? And I said, because we should be thankful for that which is precious every single time we are aware, every time we look at that item. And it might be a very expensive item, it might be just something very small and not so important to most people, but has a great meaning. And I said to them, they said, if I call my grandparents every day and thank them for this gift, they'll think that's ridiculous. I said, no, they won't. They'll think it's wonderful. So we hear blessings. We hear the blessing hamotzi, and we know it's time to eat. But once in a while, we actually say, you know what, if it weren't for the grace of God, and if it weren't for some good luck, I could be going hungry. So when we hear hamotzi, or we say hamotzi, we're really supposed to be thinking, wow, this is amazing. I have food to eat. When we come up to the Torah, or we hear someone else come up to the Torah and say just very simple phrase, but really complicated too. When we say, Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah, wow, the Torah is a gift from God. But probably we just think somebody's having an aliyah. So we really should try to think about how great it is when we say a bracha. But we don't always. So many of you know, when I had a medical emergency 12 years ago, there's a bracha, and someone actually here today we discussed this, pointed out that a blessing that some of us say every day, that's just mundane, it's just one of those things that we say, took on such great meaning because it's a blessing in the traditional Siddur that says, if things in your body are open, they have to remain open, and things in your body that are sealed or closed have to remain sealed, otherwise you can't live. And I had a part of my body that was supposed to be closed, and it opened. And it was touch and go. And that blessing means something different to me. So today, I'm looking at the blessing that's in our morning blessings. We say every day, we say, thank you, God, you are pokeach ivrim. You give sight to the blind. Now, I wasn't blind, but at least for a distance, I see a lot better than I've seen in 55 years. It was in third grade. I came home one day, and I said, the blackboard is a little blurry. And the next thing you know, I was wearing glasses, and the glasses got stronger over the years. And today I have, because of cataract surgeries the last 2 weeks, my distance vision is 20/20. On the other hand, I used to be able to see things up close, and I could pull the book closer and closer to my eyes, and now I got nothing, absolutely nothing. So things have changed. The blessing means more to me than it used to, but it should mean something every day. Even if your eyesight doesn't change, every day you wake up and you can see, and you have clothes on you, and you have food to eat, and you have air to breathe, and you have people in your life. We're supposed to be thankful, grateful, and express that gratitude. And one of those ways are through the prayers. So we say, God restored our sight, and then some people will say, no, God didn't restore your sight. Your doctor restored your sight. I say, well, But you got to be mindful that human beings, the doctors, the scientists, those who discover new things, they work together with God. There's a great story about a scientist who saw in the Bible that God created the first human being from the dust of the earth. And he spent many years and he figured out how to do it. He created a being from the dust of the earth. And he wanted to show God how he did it. So he said, God, I'm going to do what you did. And he reaches down and he picks up a handful of dirt. And God says, wait a minute. Create your own dirt first. We can't do everything on our own. Sight is something which is very, very central to being a person, but certainly being a Jew. We read today, and I mentioned, I wrote in the Shabbat Shalom email, that the first sign that Pinchas was going to take action, make a difference in the world, said Vayar Pinchas, that Pinchas saw something. Or you read the story of Moshe. It's a great story. You all know the story of Moshe, when Moshe was born. It's all about seeing. We talk about Miriam, Moshe's sister, watching him. We talk about the daughter of Pharaoh seeing Moshe, looking at him, opening up his clothing, and we said actually she saw who he was. He was a baby boy. And then Jeff introduced today's Haftarah, Jeremiah the prophet. And how does one become a prophet? A prophet is a person of vision. And literally God says to Jeremiah, tell me what you see. So to be part of the leadership, you need to see. What if you can't see? What if you don't have sight? And our rabbis are aware of such phenomena. We know that Isaac, our patriarch Isaac, was unable to see. And that's how Jacob received the blessing instead of Esau. But if you study that story carefully, we know that Isaac also had some insights. And we can discuss that another time, that his inability to physically see did not stop him from knowing really what was right. He wasn't fooled so much, depending on how you read that story. We know while it's challenging in Jewish law for one who is unable to see the words of the Torah to be the Torah reader, because that's a practice which is based on seeing the actual words and then reading them for the congregation. We know that someone who can't see can still lead the service, which one could do by heart. And I've been to services where the leader was unable to see at all, but led the entire service. So there are such allowances. I want to share a story from the Talmud. There was a rabbi named Rav Sheshet. You know, in my Talmud class, his name comes up from time to time. And we're told that everyone was outside waiting because the king was coming to town that day. And so suddenly there's some noise in the distance, and the drums start drumming, and the band starts to play, and everyone says, HaMelech ba, the king is coming. And Rav Sheshet shakes his head and says, HaMelech lo ba, the king is not coming. And sure enough, it was something else. The king wasn't coming. And then it happens a second time. And once again, they hear some sound in the distance, and the band begins to play. They get all set, the king, to greet the approaching king. And Rav Sheshet says, HaMelech lo ba. And then a short while later, not a sound, absolute silence. And Rav Sheshet says, HaMelech ba, the king is coming. And they look at him incredulously, and a few minutes later, sure enough, the sound begins, and the king's entourage comes. Rav Sheshet was blind. Helen Keller said, and I changed her words ever so slightly, just paraphrase, She said, look the world straight in the eye. Worse than being blind and having no sight is having no vision. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt within the heart. So I'm grateful for sight, for long distance, learning to adapt to close range sight. But beyond our sight, first let's be grateful for all that we have, and let's dig deep to be thankful for all that can be. Shabbat Shalom.